hope you're having a wonderful day. It is a beautiful Tuesday morning up here. And there are some things that I'd like to go over. And in this video, we're going to talk about some comments that I got on my last video that I do want to address. And we're also going to talk about Amazon that has been pushing full steam ahead, trying to do a full stop in the midst of this, and the results are disastrous. So, first of all, I got a comment from somebody named Hullabaloo100 that says, I watched all 42 minutes because somebody on Discord I am on for a Lord of the Rings game was banned, and others too, posted your video and was labeled racist for it. No need to say the mod is American. I proceeded to say that was unfortunate. You can tell that Discord mod that I say that they should lose about 600 pounds and that they should probably let the little girls out of their basement. I think this is an appropriate response because there's no way, shape, matter, or form that anyone could, in good faith, construe my video as racist. In fact, I said it multiple times that none of my critique and criticism is based on race or gender. And the reason I have to say it is because of morons like this Discord moderator. Now, I don't know where this comes from. I don't know. They called it Royal Chat, ROIL Chat. I have no idea what that is. Apparently some Lord of the Rings game. But here's the bottom line. Not me, nor my content, nor my channel is racist in any way, shape, matter, or form. I think that racism is probably one of the most low IQ and pathetic pursuits that I've ever seen. To hate somebody on the basis of their skin color or to assume that somebody's superior on the basis of their skin color is, for me, one of the telltale signs that you are an idiot and that you don't have the ability to function at any sort of higher level intellectually. So when this type of person comes out and just says, well, you're banned because this video is racist because it says things that I don't like, that to me is probably as low as you can possibly go. And again, I reiterate, this person should probably lose about 600 pounds and let the little girls out of his basement. So I just wanted to address that. Most of the comments were from people that agreed, that were overly supportive and gave their perspective, and I absolutely love it. There were people that say, hey, I agree with all your points. I see that there were some anime and manga fans that really like that point as well, because it's absolutely true. Many people in America, white American people, can read and watch and enjoy manga and anime, and there isn't this overwhelming push to make anime and make manga American. People are more than happy to watch a Japanese character in a Japanese piece of entertainment, and they can relate to it. Because from my point of view and the point of view of many other people, it's not about race, it's not about gender, it is entirely about the subject matter, the heart, the soul, the personality, the spirit, and all of the principles that they demonstrate in their character arc. It's why shonen anime is so popular, because that never give up spirit is something that is contagious. When I was growing up, it was Goku. Goku, that person who fought for his friends and his family, had that indomitable light and positive spirit, and was the ally to good and nightmare to, the forces of evil. But getting back to Lord of the Rings, the showrunners have been trying to do damage control ever since the loudmouth and incredibly toxic actresses made their comments about the show. And ironically enough, I read comments from the showrunner herself talking about how, well, we're trying to adapt this for a modern audience, and basically saying the same things as the actresses. But now that they've seen the blowback, they're trying to go full stop on this. They're trying to put the kibosh on this whole conversation by saying things like, this is going to be a timeless show, and that we're going to take Tolkien's work, which is timeless, ageless, and not political, and we're going to take that and we're going to put that into our work, and our work is not going to have politics. But it's a lie, and people know it's a lie. Now, this line could have worked if you had started with that. If there was no evidence that you had gone out of your way to try to erase Tolkien from this work, then maybe that could have flown. But unfortunately for you, too many interviews have been had with too many people that couldn't keep their mouths shut and couldn't stay on script and had to make it about themselves and their identity and their experiences and their feelings and all of that. So now we know the cat is out of the bag. We know this is not going to be an ageless, timeless classic. We know this is going to be political. We know this is going to be imbued with all sorts of radical, far-left, delusional, divorce from reality politics. We know that this is going to be hyper-focused on a specific type of racism that the left excels and engages in, which seeks to reduce people and characters down to their immutable characteristics such as race and gender and sexual orientation. Those are the holy trinity for these people. That is the altar at which you put up and you worship, because that's what this cult believes in. They believe in the most surface level, sinful bullshit. Who you're having sex with to them is one of the most important things. How you feel, with your gender, yourself, is one of the most important things. Your race, one of the most important things. But most of these things don't matter to who you actually are. They don't tell us what you believe. They don't show us anything. They don't share anything. The fact that half the world is a woman, I'm not impressed that you're a female. Half the world is a man, I'm not impressed that you're a man. And they talk about minorities, but the reality is that when you're talking about skin color, because that is apparently the most important thing, the majority of the world is not white. The majority of the world are different races. And so to use America as the only example shows how isolated and cocooned these people are. They don't realize that they are the 1% of the world. That their wealth in earning even over, $30,000, $40,000 a year puts them in the top, in the top 1% of the world. And the reason I'm mentioning this is because I think it's important to talk about. I think it's important to mention this because, as we saw from the comments made by some random, probably pedophilic, fat Discord moderator calling my work racist, it's so easy for them to do that because they are divorced from reality. And when it comes time to settle up, and when it comes time to pay due for the things that you've said and for the things that you've enacted and the choices that you've made, these people want to say, no, it's not me, it's you. But I'm here to be a reminder that it's not me, it is you. Your ideology caused this. I didn't choose for you to make this obviously limited interpretation of Lord of the Rings. I didn't choose for this. I would have preferred if you would come into it with an objective, open mind and respected the original creator. I would have respected if you chose to make the story about a person of color in America, that you had told the story around it, rather than that being the key focus of all of the interviews and all of the conversation and all of the marketing and all of the trailers. That you had made it part of the story that there's a reason why this person and his circle of influence are like this, and have it fit in the universe of Tolkien. Instead, these people just choose to throw it away. They throw out Tolkien, his work, his lore, and his belief. And I think that that is incredibly disrespectful and short-sighted. Now, as it relates to marketing, I understand why they're doing it. I totally get it. I totally understand why, if you're put in this position, that you would try to do this. You would try to reassure the audience. But again, unfortunately, it's too late. You cannot stop a train that's running at full speed. You know, I was actually recently watching a thing on the Costa Concordia. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with this, but the Costa Concordia and Amazon and the Rings of Power actually have a lot in common. You see, the Costa Concordia was one of the most expensive cruise ships ever built. It was probably $600 million, maybe more. And at the helm of this incredible ship, this expensive marvel of our creativity and genius, was a captain who was incompetent, who was clearly not suited for the job. And because he was not a leader, because he was put there obviously for politics or for, ingratiating himself to somebody or some reason other than his qualifications, it resulted in disaster. And this ship, this multi-million-dollar ship, hundreds of millions of dollars, it sank. It was totally destroyed. That fortune that was put into that was ultimately wasted because there was a lack of leadership, a lack of cohesion, and nobody there was respecting the passengers. Nobody there was respecting the ship itself, the company, the rules. Everyone just did what they wanted to do, including the captain who brought his mistress to the bridge, apparently, and was intoxicated by some reports. The point is, this is not a captain that you would put in charge of a ship this expensive. And just like that, Amazon is putting in charge incompetent, overly political people that have no idea what they're doing, and they are taking this multi-million-dollar IP. Well, the IP itself is multi-billion dollars, but this one outing, this Rings of Power, which is hundreds of millions of dollars, they are running it aground. They are hitting the rocks, and it's going to sink because you didn't respect the rules. You didn't listen to the advice from anyone who knows Lord of the Rings. You did what you wanted to do. You hired people that were incompetent and inexperienced. And you figured that you're Amazon and you have money. You can do whatever you want. You can hire whoever you want and you can make a success every time. That is arrogance. That is hubris. That is the downfall of so many different institutions and people and leaders and monarchs. And there is a lesson in all of this. That once you start down this woke path, forever will it dominate your destiny. For when you go down the dark path, when you go down this woke path, this, intersectional woke ideological perspective, it does a lot of things. It puts a lot of things into place that are almost insurmountable. Number one, it invites in people like that pathetic Discord moderator who I don't know, but I know Discord mods, and I can almost smell exactly who they're talking about. But that type of person is welcomed in when you start to embrace wokeness. Because all it takes is a little bit for these fat, slovenly rejects, these losers, to get their foot in the door and then start talking about how everything is racist, everything is sexist, and that they don't have to listen to anything or any opinion, no matter how well-reasoned, no matter how well put together, because, that guy who I don't know is obviously racist because he's been critical of people and things that, I'm trying to defend for no other reason than, truth be told, these people who are woke tend to be the most racist and patronizing, condescending people that you will ever meet. I think that this is important to talk about because there is, of course, a lesson in all this. I don't want Lord of the Rings to be bad. I don't want the show to fail. I would love the show to do extremely well. I would love for Amazon to have a major hit because here's the deal. When a show like this does poorly, or when any franchise does poorly, it sets the market back. So other shows, other networks, don't feel that inspirational force to do better. Now, when something is good, and I mean really good, like we're talking out of this world good, it inspires everyone. Regardless of your opinion on politics, regardless of your opinion on other things, when something is good, it inspires the world. It makes the world a little bit better. But when something is taken that is good and it's dragged down and it's made to be lesser, it makes us lesser. Because somebody will say, well, if Amazon's not going to put in the work to make this something special and to make it great, why do I have to do it? And we've seen too many adaptations that are just outright terrible. You look at Netflix and oh my God. Netflix, I don't know how many of you have seen the Resident Evil adaptation on Netflix, but holy criminy. That is so bad. Oh my God. I can't even do justice to how terrible that show was. Or live action Cowboy Bebop. Or live action Death Note, which was one of the most condescending and offensive things that I've ever seen. And again, it goes back to this thing that we talked about earlier about how nobody is clamoring for manga and anime to be made more American. And Netflix, they did it. They actually turned Death Note into an American story. Light Yagami turns into Light Turner. And he goes from being Japanese to being American. And it was terrible. And nobody wants it. I don't want it. You don't want it. And yet when it comes to an ideological worldview that takes center stage in this woke cult, they focus on changing things like anime and manga and American comic books and American movies and television show and doing exactly that same thing that Netflix did, but to everything, to make it worse. Now, I'm not saying that to add people who are black into content makes it worse, because I know that that's going to be the takeaway from the lowest IQ and dumbest among us. In fact, in my previous video, I talked about how I grew up with some of the best black-inspired entertainment to ever exist, and not just entertainment, but also athletes. I grew up in a time of Tiger Woods, Mike Tyson. I grew up in a time of Michael Jordan. I mean, to this day, you ask who's the best basketball player of all time. It's Mike. There's no question about it. I grew up in a time that wasn't colorblind, but there was respect for other cultures. There was respect for other races. There was respect for other genders. You know, when I was growing up, Sarah Connor was an iconic action star. She wasn't a woman action star. She was just an action star, right up there with Arnold Schwarzenegger in that one role. I mean, that was perfect for her. And then going on to Terminator 2, it just, everything was beautiful. But nowadays, things have been so twisted and so changed, and it's for the worse. It's all for the worse. There's not one thing that they've adapted in modern times that's better than it was back then, except for Top Gun. Top Gun Maverick was absolutely incredible. But with the exception of that, most things are made worse by making them modern, by going by things that are trendy. And to, circle back to this particular topic of Amazon running out of control with this, this massive train. They had no conductor. They had nobody in charge that could steer this thing in the right direction. And once it went down the wrong path, there's nobody who could put the brakes on it. If it were me, I would have put in the contract that nobody, no actor, no producer, nobody could speak on this topic, because it's too important when you have this much money and you have this much riding on this particular franchise. Anyway, that notification was letting me know that my workers have arrived. I have to go. I appreciate you watching, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate the support, the encouragement, and if you subscribe and if you stick with me, I'll do my best to make sure that I provide content that delivers the most honest accounting of these situations in a way that you can be proud of. And I always appreciate comments, opinions, critiques. You leave it in the comment section below. And thank you for watching, and we'll talk soon. Goodbye.